When starting live surface insertion, ensure that only approved materials are used for this process. For example, red nose cones, red mini end seals are used with the foam pack sealant. Temporarily seal the surface with a flexible stopper on the end of the flexible stopper rod. Fit the valve gland assembly over the flexible stopper, ensuring not to dislodge it, and secure to the carrier pipe. Fit the measuring gland over the stopper rod and secure to the gland base. Fit the handle to the back of the stopper rod, screwing it into position and withdraw the stopper into the gland assembly and shut your valve to isolate your supply. Remove the measuring gland and withdraw your stopper. Refit the measuring gland again to the gland base. With the flexible rod, attach your bend tester to the front of the flexible rod by screwing it into position. Place the flexible rod into your measuring gland up against the closed valve. Using a water gauge, fit the tube over the measuring gland onto the test point. Then open the main valve on your gland assembly to take a recording of this district pressure and make a note of that pressure for later on in the process. Insert the flexible rod along the service pipe as far as possible until you come up against the back of a T or the back of the main itself, until you can't push the rod any further. With tape, clearly indicate the mark on the flexible rod up against the measuring gland. Slowly withdraw the flexible rod until a clear mark at the start of the rod appears, and then you can shut your valve. With the flexible rod, confirm that the length you have marked is comparable to the indicated mains position on your plans. Using the flexible rod, transfer the tape mark on the rod onto the PE. Most importantly, use a tape measure to measure the distance of the PE. Then with that measured distance, record it and refer to your instruction leaflet for the appropriate size foam sachet kit to use. Temporarily remove the measuring gland, place the flexible rod through it, and replace the elbow tester with a wire brush. Refit the measuring gland with the wire brush onto the gland base. Refit the water gauge to the gland base. Open the main valve up and then insert the flexible rod along the service pipe to clean any surface rust out of the pipe itself. Withdraw the wire brush back into the measuring gland and recheck the mains pressure to ensure no blockage has occurred. And now shut your valve. Remove the water gauge and the measuring gland and the flexible rod. Feed the PE through the back of the pushing machine, through the jaws, out of the front threaded section of the pushing machine. Slide the gland body over the PE and screw to the front of the pushing machine. For fitting a nose cone to the PE, it's important that you deburr the inside of the PE pipe. For this you'll use a reaming tool. Select the correct size nose cone and position onto your nose cone key. Push the O-ring into the PE and screw the nose cone into the PE. The nose cone must not be screwed any further than the leading shoulder, so the shoulder should meet up square and should not be screwed in any further. Remove the nose cone key. Place the plastic bung or pip into the front of the nose cone. It's very important that you must not grease the nose cone under any circumstances. Withdraw the nose cone and the PE back into the pushing machine. The plastic bung in the front of the nose cone allows you to do a pressure test on the PE before inserting it, but also will allow you to do a pressure test after you've inserted it. For this you'll use a universal test piece. Attach the water gauge to the test piece, fit the pump, and it's a standard 5-minute integrity test, no drop allowed for 5 minutes at 100 millibar or 40 inches on the water gauge. When the test is complete, remove all the fittings and the gauge. Attach the pipe pushing machine onto the gland base with the gland assembly, securing the pushing machine with the little grub screws. Attach the water gauge to the brass test point on the side of the gland assembly. Procedures state there should be a purge hose fitted to this assembly, ensuring that the purge hose leads at least 2 meters away from the excavation. Engage the forward direction on the pushing machine, open your main valve, and slowly push the nose cone and PE through your series of fittings for at least 300 millimeters. Fully open the purge valve to vent off any gas that may have passed the nose cone through your series of fittings and leave the valve open. Slowly continue inserting the PE pipe into the carrier pipe using the pipe pushing machine, observing the pressure gauge continuously. If you observe a pressure build-up prior to the PE pipe reaching the main, it may be due to one of the following circumstances: entering a siphon, a flexible coupling, or a T. If a teed service is suspected, adjacent properties must be checked immediately. It's possible to be a larger diameter section of pipe. If that pipe work exceeds 100 millimeters or 4 inches, seek further advice. If any of these situations occur, further investigations must be carried out before continuing with the operation. Push the PE through the carrier pipe to the service T or bend in the main. When the nose cone enters the service or T or main, the gauge pressure should rise to full district pressure. Check that the tape mark on the PE pipe is close to the entry point on the carrier pipe. It is expected that the marked position of the PE will be within 150 to 300 millimeters of the entry point. Reverse the pushing machine and slowly retract the PE pipe by 2-inch steps into the carrier pipe. Shut the purge valve and check the water gauge for the effectiveness of the seal achieved. Remember the 5-second rule. If the gauge does not rise to district pressure within 5 seconds, there is an acceptable seal between the nose cone and the carrier pipe. If the gauge does reach district pressure within 5 seconds, a good seal has not been achieved by the nose cone. In this case, pull the pipe back by a further 2-inch steps into the carrier pipe and recheck the seal as before. If a good seal is still not achieved, then remove the nose cone and replace it. Note that the operation of pulling the nose cone back into the pipe reverses the position of the fins and creates an effective seal against the mains pressure. Close the vent and remove the pressure gauge. Carefully remove the pipe pushing machine and valve gland assembly, ensuring the PE pipe and nose cone are not disturbed. Carry out a further 100 millibar soundness test as before. Select the correct mini end seal and slide the mini end seal over the PE pipe and onto the steel carrier pipe. Secure the mini end seal onto the pipe by tightening the cable ties. Pull the cable ties as tight as you can hand tight. Try to avoid any kind of mechanical aid. On larger kits you have more than one port. The white port is the open port. The red port has a red bung attached to the underside which will need to be removed in order to utilise the second port when pumping in more than one kit. Select the appropriate size of foam pack kit following the table provided on the instruction leaflet. Remember to use the red instruction leaflet in the foam pack kit when carrying out live service insertion. Inside the kit are O-clips for securing the tube onto the mini end seal. There are cutting knives at the base of the cartridge to pierce the sachet, and assemble the cartridge by fitting the nozzle on the delivery tube. Fit the cartridge into the applicator gun and tighten the grub screw. It's important at this point just to keep the piston close to hand. With the pliers, swage the delivery tube slightly to make the fitting of the tube easier. With the O-clip in position, force the tube over the white delivery port. Force the tube down as far as possible. Lifting the O-clip up into position and using the pliers, squeeze the O-clip, ensuring a tight fit with the tube on the delivery port. Put on the protective gloves provided, and we recommend using goggles with this equipment. It's important to read the information on the front of the foam pack kit as it refers to temperature ranges. Remove the outer casing of the foam sachet. To reveal the foam sachet itself with the dividing strip down the middle. Check the temperature strip on the foam sachet itself. There's guidance notes on the outer casing as to when you should and shouldn't use this foam sachet. Remove the central dividing strip. Remove the black bracket and the outer foil casing. It'll leave you with one complete heat sealed bag with the resin and hardener. Mix the resin and hardener for 30 to 45 seconds maximum, ensuring that the foam itself is one complete colour with no unmixed material. Pull the material out of all the corners. If more than one sachet is being used, then multiples of sachets must be mixed at the same time. Once the sachet has been mixed, without delay, place into the cartridge, and with the piston, place the piston on top of the cartridge and position the plunger on top of the piston. Without any delay at all, steadily pump the contents out of the cartridge into the annular space, making sure that the piston reaches the bottom of the cartridge. The knife within the cartridge pierces the sachet, allowing the foam to be released out of the cartridge into the end seal. Once all of the foam has been pumped in, fold the delivery tube over and allow the foam to expand. The foam will expand and travel along the annulus. This will take up to 30 minutes depending on the ambient temperature. It's intended that when the foam reaches the nose cone, it generates enough pressure to go past the first fin and create a seal between the first and second fin, giving you a reliable plug. When the foam is fully cured after about half hour, you can detach the delivery tube and remove the gun. Then you complete the rest of the service relay to the property by the most appropriate method. When commissioning the live PE pipe independently from the dead section, you must fit a PE knockout gland. Install the gland and tighten down the hand-tight compression fitting. On 20 and 1 inch, it's important to fit this knockout tool to the flexible rod to ensure knocking out the plastic plug. Place the flexible rod into the gland fitting and send down inside the PE pipe until you come up against the plastic plug. Fit the water gauge onto the brass test point. Push the flexible rod up against the plug and knock out the plug to commission the PE pipe. Position the squeeze off on the PE pipe. And withdraw the flexible rod slowly. Before exiting the fitting, check on the water gauge that you have full district pressure. Apply the squeeze off to the PE in preparation for the remainder of the service. Remove the water gauge Remove the flexible rod and your knockout gland fitting. Connect the live inserted section using approved fitting. Test and complete the service as per field procedures. Carry out a final leakage survey from main to meter, and place all the consumables in a waste bag for disposal in compliance with local procedures.